Alrighty, what's up? I'm Dragon Blitz, and this is going to be a speedrun of the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Randomizer. This is specifically the Lycanthrope preset, which is a very interesting preset. It's being used for our upcoming community race for the Symphony of the Night Randomizer community. And let's go ahead and get into it, and I'll explain what's happening as we go along. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. Just like the normal game, this is Castlevania Symphony of the Night being played on a PlayStation 1. The goal of this is to get through the prologue sequence at the beginning. The prologue is actually not randomized at all, so it behaves exactly as it would in the normal game. Our goal is to grab 41 hearts before talking to Draculus. This gives us an extra item once we get out of the prologue sequence. We're also going to be killing Dracula very quickly by taking advantage of the Hydrostorm item crash. I'm also getting rid of as much hearts as I can, because if we end with 0 hearts at the end of the sequence, we also get an additional item. And every additional item does have the potential to make a big difference. Ooh, got kind of unlucky on the pattern here, but it's fine. We're only going to lose a little bit of time for this. All right, let's go for the Hydrostorm here. It's also important that I end while holding the cross here. This is going to give me access to additional magic once I gain control of Alucard. So it's very important that we don't lose that. There we go. Not the cleanest fight I've ever had, but we will take it. We will take it. So now that we're exiting out of the prologue sequence here, this is where the randomizer actually kicks in. We're going to be starting with 3 wolf relics. That's why it's called Lycanthrope, referring to, you know, lichens, wolves, if you will. This preset's really fun because getting access to these wolf relics gives us access to some very fast movement at the very start of the game, but it's not incredibly overpowered like starting with Bat might be. We can see the cape is randomized as well, the cape color. But what's nice about this preset is it gives us access to glitchless options for skipping death at the very start here. Death normally takes away all of your starting gear, but we are going to prevent that by just being so fast that we move out of the room before Death can even start his cutscene with us. So it's a little precise. Let me see if I can get that set up, this death skip. There it is. We move right past the room, and we maintain our momentum during an untransformation animation from the wolf. And it slides us through here, and we get to start keep all of our powerful starting equipment. Here's the first guaranteed drops of the run. Terminus Est, it's a poison sword. It's okay. Meal Ticket is not ideal, and that's a familiar card. We don't need any of those, so we're just going to move on. So that was the first relic check, along with some item checks. So far, the Terminus is pretty good. We started with Shield Rod, which is a decent weapon. It's really powerful in conjunction with certain shields, specifically if we can find like Iron Shield, Medusa Shield, Dark Shield, Fire Shield, or Alucard Shield. All of those are really, really good. But yeah, right now we have access to one more check before entering the outer wall, which is in the Marble Gallery. So we're going to be making our way over there as quickly as possible. Sorry, did I say item? I meant relic. So it's very important to distinguish. There are specific items in this game. Yo, thank you, WJB.
And make them your slaves.
There are certain items in this game that are randomized just either through enemy drops or by like just item placements. But there are also the relics, which are the important abilities that we need to gain access to new areas. And those relics are randomized amongst other relic locations. Hold on, we got a boss fight here. Going to be using the Tetra Spirit spell. It's a spell you have access to at the very beginning of the game if you have enough magic. And it's pretty powerful. Definitely worth using if you can cast it. The input's not too hard. It's a half circle, but you have to hold up for a little while and then go half circle from up to forward to down. And then the attack button. But yeah, this is another hallway where using the wolf movement is quite a bit faster than it would be otherwise. I want to check this item right over here since it's pretty free. Shuriken. Yeah, shurikens are throwable items that are useful if you have access to the duplicator, but because that gives you infinite usage of throwable items. But we don't have that right now, so they're kind of useless without the duplicator. Here I'm going to be using the wolf to also try and get to this next location a little bit faster than normal. So down this staircase is yet another relic location, potentially. Another thing to note is because we started with some relics, some of the relic locations will be empty because we already technically have some extra relics. And we're starting with Gravity Boots, which is really, really nice. In the logic for the randomizer, this only unlocks a handful of checks. However, we could actually do some out-of-logic checks by taking advantage of the fact that the Gravity Boots can be chained infinitely, so long as you have enough magic, if you are in a state that has access to a dive kick. And untransforming from the wolf gives you access to a dive kick, so therefore it gives you access to infinite gravity jumps, which is really, really nice. And we use that right away, actually, to check this location. Normally, I wouldn't be able to gain enough height to get all the way up the shaft without retransforming and untransforming into the wolf midair. Ooh, and this gives us the Holy Glasses. Nice. This is a required item to get into the second castle. While I'm here, I'm going to do some item checks over to the left here. Okay, Mormagil, a cape, and elixir. Nothing too crazy, but not terrible. Yeah. Clock is going to close on us right there. So that clock moves in and out of your way every other minute. It would have been nice to go all the way up there and do some checks. However, we are probably going to have to come back here anyways because there are some checks in the alchemy lab that we have to backtrack for anyways. So I'm not too upset about doing an alternate path here. This path is pretty standard for the randomizer because there are a handful of item checks waiting for us in the outer wall location. And we're basically just heading there right now. Otherwise, we'd have to go up into the Coliseum and do a alternate route that way. So already we're having to make some decisions. Yeah, I think if it wasn't for that clock closing on me, I would have went up there, but it's not worth waiting an entire in-game minute for it to open again. It's probably just better to do as many checks as possible early on. Coming up here, we're going for a boss skip, actually. Taking advantage of the additional momentum you get from the wolf charge to jump up the slope and skip a boss that is in the room to our left right here. Also a diamond, nice. The most valuable gem that we can sell in the shop a little bit later. In fact, let's just go there right now. This is where we can enter the long library. There's a handful of relics. I think we're going to have access to 3 relic locations, 1 inside the shop and 2 that are outside of the shop. It's one of the reasons why coming here early is pretty useful, because there are so many relic checks here. As well as a shop that is full of potentially useful items. The entire shop contents are randomized. Here, I'm trying to stay in wolf as long as possible, because the transformation animation is quite slow. One of the ways that you can get around it is by taking damage, but unfortunately, I'm a little too good for that. I was actually trying to take damage, but I was going too fast. And once you go fast enough with the wolf, it actually it gives you full invincibility as you move through enemies. So it's fine. We have to untransform manually, losing a little bit of time. But yeah, the wolf is useful in this preset as well because it's definitely pretty cheap magic cost to move fast as the wolf compared to other possible movement options. Let's take a look at the shop. I'm going to quickly scan through to see if I find anything that's useful, that's worth buying. Fire Shield and Medusa Shield are definitely worth buying. But I want to check the full shop first before committing any of my money. Okay, 2 Covenant Stones to increase my overall strength. And I guess the 2 shields is pretty much all I'm going to get. The rest of this shop is pretty useless. That's fine. Decent shop overall. So one of the relics that I got earlier, which is the Eye of Vlad, you can see on my tracker right up there, is useful because you need to collect all 5 of those Vlad relics that are on that row in order to unlock the final boss of the game. So that is basically our win condition. The win condition in randomizers like this is to collect those 5 Vlad relics as well as collecting the Holy Glasses. So you have access to the area that the final boss is in, and then the relics, the Vlad relics, unlock the actual boss fight itself. All right, and we can move on. There's yet another relic check up these stairs, which once we gain access to another movement option, it might change our trajectory, like our routing. Oh, there's supposed to be an item there in the elevator shaft, but because I had access, it just randomly was empty because we had the early wolf relics given to us because of the preset of this randomizer. Which is fine. We're expecting to see a handful of locations empty. Ideally, though, it's not empty, but, you know, it's better to get relics early on if you can't. Oops. And, yeah. So yeah, early on, we're going to definitely take advantage of the fact that we have basically full flight. It's not the most convenient form of flight, only being able to move using the gravity jump movement option, but it's still pretty good. I also grabbed a teleporter there earlier. You have to basically walk into a teleporter room in order to unlock it to use it again later, except for the very entrance one, the one at the castle entrance. Gas Cloud is fine. It's a utility relic that I'm not going to say no to, but it's not necessary. Ooh. This guy's annoying. Gonna do a gravity jump to get past him. And right here is a library card. Perfect. It has the same exact sprite as a meal ticket, which is essentially a useless item, but the library card gives us a way to teleport back to the library, which most of the time is an incredibly useful tool for routing. It means that you can go deep into like dead end sections of the castle and have an escape plan that's much faster than would be otherwise, because you could just warp out of there using the library card. It's the only way to deal with certain sections like that quickly, outside of saving the game and then resetting if you don't find something useful. I'm going to go ahead and equip that Covenant Stone now, just one. It'll increase my strength a decent amount to be able to two-shot these enemies, which is pretty much all I need. The reason I didn't unequip the other item, it's the Mystic Pendant item, which I started with. It increases my MP regeneration rate by basically doubling it, and MP is very important for the movement tech that you use as the wolf, as well as casting spells like this. Oops, I mean like this. So the more magic we have, the better. And that's one boss down. This boss basically just blocks the path to the Castle Keep, which the Castle Keep does have access to 3 more relic checks for us. So I definitely wanted to come here as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and get through this area quickly with the wolf. It's a little bit awkward, especially because, yeah, these flying enemies, the flea riders, they have some of the worst RNG movement patterns in the entire game. There's not really much you can do to avoid them sometimes if they feel like they want to hit you. There, I was invincible by doing the gravity jump, which is quite good. Force of Echo. I was trying to not grab it and instead break this wall to see what the item was, because grabbing relics does cost time. So if you see a relic that's not useful, you just don't pick it up. Like there, that's the Fire of Bat relic. It's just not useful. It lets the bat shoot a little fireball. It's a very weak spell that costs magic and is slow to perform. So it's pretty much useless in a speedrun scenario. Yeah, this is the gravity jumps at work. They are a little bit awkward to move with, but it's all I have, so we might as well take advantage of it. Okay. See an attack potion and dark armor. I'm going to grab dark armor. It does make quote-unquote evil or dark element attacks. It makes sure that I'm immune to them if I'm wearing it, which there are a few bosses that do dark element attacks that it's useful to have that armor for. But yeah, now I'm going to be gaining access to this warp so I can come back to the Castle Keep. This is the area that we need to come back to enter the second castle. I don't want to do that yet because here on my map, you can see I have a couple of locations left. Anything that's green or purple is something that I have access to. Ooh, Opal, another sellable. It's not really going to help me because the shop isn't that good, but better than nothing, I guess. I'm trying to stay in wolf form as much as possible, like I said, to prevent the untransformation animation to play out and then transform again. Each time it costs a handful of seconds, so I'm doing my best to stay in the wolf transformation as much as possible until I absolutely have to untransform, like right here. Ooh, Heart of Vlad, another Vlad relic. Nice. This is another Vlad relic that we wouldn't have had access to except for doing the out of logic gravity jumps. So that's quite nice. A little early on that untransformation, but it's fine. Another thing that's important to note is every time I untransform in the air, I lose the ability to drift while in midair, so I can only maneuver using the diagonal gravity jump directions, which is not the best. Like, your air movement is really, really stiff when you do that, but to do multiple gravity jumps, it is 100% required with my given setup. Here we're back in the alchemy lab because there are checks up here that we didn't have access to earlier, but now that we have the gravity boots, we can jump up here and check them. Say hi to the vials full of turkeys. Okay, Jewel of Open. That does unlock the caverns for us right now. So it's very likely that our next location we need to enter is in the caverns, like the next location that has a another progression relic for us. This randomizer works off of a complexity system. So the best way to think about it is kind of like steps in a ladder where you need to climb each step to get to the very end. And each step is represented by a different relic that unlocks another step on that ladder. So for example, gravity boots unlock the ability for us to grab that Jewel of Open. And then the Jewel of Open is going to unlock a new location that will presumably have another relic that unlocks another location that unlocks another relic. And you do that a certain number of times until you get to the end of the seed. Another Vlad relic. Nice. 3 Vlad relics this early on is quite nice. We're 15 minutes-ish into the game. Not going to complain about that progression. Perfect. So, because of that complexity system, it is very likely that our last Vlad relic is going to be locked behind what the community calls a high complexity location. So something that requires multiple relics or items in order to do that check. Those are the most likely places to have the final Vlad relic for us, which is required to beat the game. So that's how they lock the end complexity, is based off of the final Vlad relic. We made it just in time for the clock to open for us, which is quite nice. We're on a good cycle. So now that we're up here, there is a warp for us to get so we can come back later if need be. The other thing that is nice about this location is because we have out of logic flight, it's possible that we could actually skip deeper into the complexity than the game is expecting. So going into places that require flight have the potential... Ooh, no relic here either. Okay, that's 2 blank locations already. Going into a location that is that requires flight has the potential to... skip us one chain deeper into the complexity chain without having to go to the location that the seed is wanting us to go to. We'll likely go there anyways, but it's more convenient for us to do this now, essentially. I think my plan is I'm going to do the 2 checks in the Alrox's quarters that are up this shaft that requires flight. Because they are out of logic checks that have the potential to help us skip logic a little bit. I'll do those now. And then if we find nothing, we'll go to the caverns and complete that. Because that is going to be my in-logic flight is likely in the caverns. Because that is the only location that the Jewel of Open unlocked for us. Here again, using the wolf movement to cross some of these gaps. And the wolf is actually required to fit into that gap. Any of the transformations will do, but since we start with wolf, it makes it easy to just use the wolf to fit through that gap. Where we're going to be fighting another boss fight. Let's go ahead and double up these, and I think I'm ready to change my strat up. Let's use the fire shield, actually. Get to show off the fire shield spell. This is the Alrox boss fight. He has 2 phases. Phase 1 is pretty simple to defeat. You just have to dodge that fireball. That's pretty much the most scary thing you can do. And now we get to see the shield rod in action. This is a spell that if performed with the enemy inside of it, they basically instantly explode. It does cost a lot of magic, so you want to be very careful to not use it super often, because now I have less magic to move around with. But it sped up the fight so much that it's probably worth it in this scenario. And Fairy Scroll, that is a useless relic. All it does is give us access to see the names of the enemies that we're defeating. This game does have a handful of relics that are essentially just completely useless from a speedrunning perspective. And that's one of them. So it's basically the same as seeing a blank relic. Let's go ahead and fall down here. And like I said, we have one more relic check. Ooh, Mornblade. That is a fantastic sword to find. That might replace our main weapon. It is a high damaging sword. Okay, that's useless. It's a high damaging sword that also has a soul steal effect. So every time we do damage with the sword, it heals us. So it makes it very difficult to die. Monster Vial 3 is a useless item right now. Oh my god, I hit the slope. I wasn't expecting to hit that. Oh my god. And I'm almost out of magic, so I have to be careful here. There we go. There was a tiny, tiny slope there that I took advantage of the wolf's slope mechanics to do a massive jump. It's quite difficult to hit that movement tech, but it is awesome that I got it, to be honest. Okay. So like I said, the Aurochs's Quarters was essentially a dud, so we're just going to go to the caverns now. We didn't get a chance to skip into the complexity a little bit. The easiest ways to do that is with any out-of-logic checks. And some of the big out-of-logic checks that you definitely want to try and do if you can is the Spike Breaker location. Is one that is very accessible out of logic. Because the Spike Breaker location specifically is coded in the randomizer to require the Soul of Bat and the Echo. That's essentially how the game intends for you to get through that room in the normal game. But as speedrunners, we can get that through that room without using those relics at all. Yo, thank you, that Brock, for the sub. Here we're going to be using that Jewel of Open that we got earlier to unlock this blue door. We wouldn't be able to pass through this without the Jewel of Open. We're going to press this switch, which now is going to open up the caverns for us. Doing a little bit of more wolf movement. The wolf is very technical in this game. There's a lot of advanced movement techniques that you can take advantage of, especially with the various momentum based jumps and movement techniques that the wolf has access to. There's a diamond up there, but like I said earlier, the shop is kind of useless from here on out, so I'm not even going to go out of my way to grab it. Here's another wolf technique where you can just charge across gaps like that, and it gives us access to this area early. The game definitely does not intend for us to be able to check this area yet. We could have also just used our out-of-logic flight, but this was a faster way of doing it. Oh my goodness, all of those items are basically useless. You're going to see me pass up the heart max-ups and the life max-ups in this game because, in general, when you're speedrunning the game, it's very rare that you actually are in danger of dying. So having additional health doesn't matter, and every time you pick up a heart max-up, it stops the game for like 3.5 seconds to play an animation. So yeah, you're not going to be seeing me pick much of those up. Again, using the shield rod to absolutely obliterate this boss. Basically as they spawn in. Okay. Cube of Zoe is normally the starting relic that you would find in the normal game. It allows for hearts, money, and items to spawn from candles, which is nice for us because having access to sub-weapons can be quite useful. There are a lot of sub-weapons that are good for damage and a lot of sub-weapons that are good for utility, like specifically the stopwatch, which lets you freeze a boss in the second castle. The Doppelganger 40 fight is so much easier if you have access to a stopwatch. So if I happen to find one, I'll definitely pick it up. But I'm not really going to go out of my way to break every single candle to try and find one necessarily. So if I happen to find one, great. If I don't find one, it's okay. We'll live. Here's yet another boss fight. This boss is notorious for having like way too little health, so I'm not even going to use the spell. Yeah, the boss died in just like 3 hits. Just to save my magic, it wasn't worth using the shield rod spell. Oh my goodness, and it's Soul of Bat down here. I am so glad we came here. So Soul of Bat is great. It lets us transform into bat and also do this nifty little movement technique called wing smashing. It's not as fast as the wolf movement a lot of the time, but it has an instantaneous speed as opposed to the wolf dash, which does have to accelerate to its max speed. The bat transformation and its wing smash does cost more magic than the wolf movement. However, it does give us access to the ability to fly. And now that we have bat, you're going to be seeing me enter save rooms quite a bit often. We had to do a full save animation because we haven't saved the game yet, but now every time we get to a save room, we have the choice to skip the save animation and use the save room to essentially just refill our magic, which is quite nice. We can also take advantage of the fact that the bat maintains its momentum during the transformation animation. And by doing so, we can dash with the wolf really quickly and then transform into bat. We could also back dash and then transform into the bat, and maintain its momentum during the animation. So like that's called a bat dash, what I did just there. I did a back dash, transformed into the bat. You could also do it with the wolf. So if I have some speed with the wolf, and I'm going to actually maintain the speed as long as I can. Ooh. Didn't mean to do that. Trying to get some speed with the wolf to show it off. And then transform into bat. During the animation, we are moving at the same exact speed we were during the moment we started transforming. There we picked up the sword card. Didn't really want to grab it, but, you know, it's fine. I imagine the rest of the caverns here is probably going to be empty. However, since we have the soul of bat, it is pretty easy to check that spike breaker location. Like I said earlier, it's a very important out of logic location to check if you have the ability to do so. So I'm definitely going to do that. I also get to show off a new discovery. This is a glitchless discovery. So there's no glitch involved here, but essentially the developers forgot to eliminate a debug code that allows you to break that bridge by pressing the triangle button on player 2. This is real. This is in the game. So as long as you have player 2 plugged in, you can just blow up the bridge manually, and you don't have to do like this whole thing where you press a switch and then have an enemy spawn that blows it up for you. Here I can't use the shield spell against this guy because he absorbs fire, and the fire shield spell obviously does fire damage. But we're doing enough damage that doesn't matter. So moving on from here, I have that library card, and I'm torn on whether I should use it now or save it for later. I think I'm going to possibly use it now, depending on what I find. Oh, another thing that the shield lets me do, the fire shield, it makes me immune to fire damage. So here I'm guarding the fire attacks that those gremlins were leaving on the ground, which is pretty useful overall. Has a lot of utility. So the only checks I have left, I'm going to double check the map, is, yeah, everything else is grayed out. So these bottom 2 checks here in the catacombs. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save the game, and then we're going to do the checks here in the catacombs. But if the checks are not useful, I'll just reset the game and load my save. This is what we in the community call a save split. So we're basically splitting our file off to potentially save time backtracking by just resetting the game instead of backtracking manually. Yo, Thesis. Thank you for the sub. Another thing that's nice about these shield spells is during the animation, you're invincible. So I could actually start the spell and then move into position because the spell is locked to where it is on the camera. So I can move the camera by moving Alucard and then move it into a position where it does more damage to the bosses. Oops. And nothing here. Like I said, we're just going to reset. Yes, indeed. Grand Falloon got fired. So these resets cost about 30 seconds in order to do the full soft reset and then reload your save file. So as long as you are saving more than 30 seconds of movement, it's usually worth it, especially if it also means that you're out of magic to do that movement, which is one of the more important aspects to save splitting, is you do it to save your magic a lot of the time. All right, here I'm going to be setting up a way to get through this spike room without the necessary relic. Here I have to maneuver without being able to see, so it's going to be a little difficult, but yeah. I'm going to try my best to set up the positioning. Again, there we go, got a second try. This is an intentional damage boost, and then we're going to wing smash through. Perfect. Hello, there we go. Didn't get the invincibility I wanted. So yeah, normally you need the Echo relic in order to come here and see what it is that you're doing and avoid the spikes that are hidden in the darkness. But because the layout of that room never changes, you can do specific movement to prevent getting stuck. Leapstone, is it worth keeping Leapstone over the library card that I have? I'm going to say no. So Leapstone gives me access to a double jump, which is very, very useful in this game. However, the library card that I have is incredibly powerful because the way that these randomizers oftentimes work is you have to move between the castles multiple times to finish a seed. And the fastest way to move from the second castle, the inverted castle, back to the original castle is by using a library card. And since I only have one, I'm going to be saving it for that moment because that will save me more time than just having the Leapstone, hopefully. I mean, that's a decision I have to make in the moment, and I'm hoping I made the right decision, but we will see. That's part of the thing that makes routing these randomizers on the fly very different because somebody else in that same exact scenario would likely use their library card there thinking, oh, I got a good relic, it's worth keeping. So I'm going to use my library card instead, which is honestly a fair assessment, and I wouldn't even blame somebody for making that call. But in the moment here, I think the library card is just a little too useful. Because the other thing is, if you find another library card later, then essentially I wasted my chance to use 2 library cards to save time instead of just the one that I might end up having instead. Here we're using the warps to get to Castle Keep again. And then from Castle Keep, we're going to be entering the second castle using those holy glasses that we got earlier. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. We still have access to good movement options without the Leapstone, but it will make some things a little awkward, which is unfortunate. I need to equip the holy glasses here. And here I'm going to be using spells to do damage to the Shaft Orb that's in the center of the screen. All that you need to do to get past this encounter with Richter and Shaft controlling him is to hit the Shaft Orb 10 times. It doesn't matter how much damage you do. As long as the Shaft Orb gets hit 10 times, it'll break, and then you can move on. So a combination of 1 Tetra Spirit spell and 1 Soul Steal spell does exactly 10 hits, and it lets you move on pretty quickly. "31 minutes in, and we are entering the second castle now. This is pretty decent pace, considering our movement options weren't necessarily the best at the beginning part. I mean, the wolf does help, don't get me wrong, but... Here's another example of like the momentum preservation tech that you can do with the bat. You can use it to line up locations where you can untransform and then gravity jump out of them as well. That's another common use for the bat dashes and whatnot. Need to get me into the right position. Yep, there we go. It's a very large spell, but ideally you want them in the center of it so it can do as much damage for as long as possible. Another thing that's important to note is those spells, funny enough, you'd think they would... ooh, nice. Another Vlad relic. Okay. This is going to change our routing a lot. To finish what I was saying, a funny thing about the spells that I'm doing with the Shield Rod is because they are items that are... because they are spells that are based off of items that I'm using in my hand slots. I don't need this. The damage you do with them is based off of your strength stat and not based off of your intelligence stat, which normally dictates how much damage you do from the actual spells that Alucard has, like Tetra Spirit and Soul Steal and whatnot. So they do behave a little bit differently, even though they're both, spells. Refilling my magic here at this save room. Pretty much anytime I'm next to a save room, I'm probably going to just hop in to try and refill my magic. Do the spell here, hopefully to kill Medusa quickly. There we go. Medusa has very, very high resistances in general, so it's nice to be able to kill her quickly. Okay, this is the Power of Mist Relic. It's useful, but it's not useful until we get the Mist Relic, so I'm still going to pick it up, hoping to find that Mist Relic later. So another thing that's important to note that I was trying to explain earlier is we are now in the part of the randomizer where all we need in order to be in go mode is that last Vlad relic. That's the Tooth of Vlad. And that relic is going to be the highest complexity relic in the entirety of the seed. So it's going to be locked by the most amount of things possible up to this point. And the highest complexity locations that are left are either guarded by the Mist Relic, which we don't have yet, or are guarded behind the 2 rings that open the clock tower back in the first castle, the gold and silver ring. So either if I find both gold and silver rings, I'm likely going to use my library card to go back to the first castle and try and find the last Vlad relic there. Or if I find mist, I'll do the same. I'll just go back to the first castle to try and find the last Vlad relic. If I'm unsure which of those locations it'll end up being, I could always do a save split technique where I save the game, then use my library card, and then go back. Do I have a better way to kill this guy? Not really. I'm just going to use Morn Blade and an attack potion and hope that that's enough. This guy's really annoying because he can grab you out of your attacks, and I don't have enough magic to kill him using spells, which is usually a lot better. I got grabbed. Yeah. Thankfully, I have enough defense that it's not too terrible that I got grabbed. But I couldn't think of a better way to kill him quickly. Yeah, there's also the Merman statue, which is another relic that is possible to guard the last Vlad relic, but is... Okay, as soon as I say it. Now I have some decisions to make. So that unlocks exactly one location back in the first castle, which is not ideal. The worst case scenario for going back to the first castle right now is I go back there to find a ring, a gold or silver ring, and then the other ring is back in the second castle. So because of that, I don't think it's worth going yet, right? I don't know. It's a really tough call. There's a world where... you go back to the first castle, you find mist, and then the mist unlocks the final relic. Or there's a world where you go to the back to the first castle, the Merman statue relic unlocks a ring, which you need both in order to actually progress. So I think I'm going to stay in the second castle until I find at least one more thing. Yes, mist can be at Holy Symbol, which is the location that the Merman statue guards. Or it could be a ring. Or it can technically be nothing. It could also be bait. Or it could be Spikebreaker, because Spikebreaker is an item that is required for the silver ring check in logic, but like we did earlier to avoid getting damaged by the spikes in that dark room, we can avoid the spike damage in the silver ring hallway as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to continue in the second castle for at least a little bit longer to see if we might be able to find a better time to go back. I think this is actually a decent time to show off the Medusa Shield spell, because we're going to be fighting 3 bosses at once, and the Medusa Shield spell moves across the entirety of the screen. So, or sometimes the AI decides to just peace out. I do not understand how these lasers work. Okay, it did something, and it costs less than the Fire Shield spell, so I'm not going to be too mad. But it does allow me to do damage to multiple enemies. Theoretically, at least. And I guess for our last guy, we'll just kill him with the Morn Blade. There we go. Yeah, that was really annoying. Oops. There we go. Let's see what the relic is. Spirit Orb. That shows me how much damage I'm doing. It's essentially useless at this point, because that does not matter in a speedrun. Wow. Okay. You know what? I'm actually scared now. Let's go ahead and hit up the save room real quick, just to refill our HP and our magic. I was trying to do that originally to get past him. There we go. Jeez. Those guys do hit very, very hard. All right, from here, there's a lot of lag that happens if you touch the ceiling while you do these wing smashes, because they actually, little particles will fall from the ceiling when you're colliding with the ceiling during a wing smash. So what I was doing there was to intentionally avoid touching the ceiling by hitting an angle that is just barely off of the ceiling, and it reduces the lag in that area by a lot. Yeah, there's a couple of things in this game in general that you have to keep in mind. Since it is a PlayStation 1 game, it is quite laggy in certain areas. We might even see that lag happen here. Beelzebub is notorious for being quite laggy in if you do certain things. So let's see if we can do it. Yeah, like it lagged a little bit there. I'm trying to do a gravity jump. Yep. It's still faster to kill him that way, but boy, oh boy, does the game chug when you do that. A familiar relic is useless. So we're starting to get to the point where I'm kind of worried. There's only about 5 relic checks left here in the second castle. So I'm hoping to find something useful, but I'm starting to get a little worried. It's very likely because the second castle is essentially fully available to you once you have the holy glasses. Every location is equally likely to be a progression item of some kind. So you won't know for sure what the second castle progression item or relic was until you full cleared it, or until you found that item most of the time. So you can't like find an item and be like, oh, this must be the progression item I needed. Like you can find multiple on the same layer of complexity inside the second castle. It makes the second castle very scary to try and read where everything is, to try and like guess where stuff is supposed to be. There is a relic to my left that is potential to grab. This is a relic that is dropped by Creature. However, it takes like 2 minutes to get to him, and there are 2 relics that are right above me right now. So I'm gonna go do those right now, because I'm basically just looking for Mist or a ring. If I find Mist or a ring, I'm gonna go back to the first castle, probably with a save split. So I want to do as many checks as quickly as possible to prevent going back to the first castle and not finding exactly what I need. This area is a little awkward to move through because if you touch the water in the bat transformation, you will be forcibly changed back into human form. So you have to be careful to not touch the ceiling while you move through this area. It's literally empty. That's awesome. What was this again? It was axe sub-weapon. Okay. We haven't found a stopwatch sub-weapon because we're coming up on the doppelganger fight now, and it would be nice if we had it, but unfortunately we don't. So, you know. We just got to move along. For this fight, Doppelganger has iframes every time you hit him, unless you're able to freeze him with the stopwatch, or we can do an alternate method here by actually turning him to stone using the Medusa shield. This is a very rare interaction that you wouldn't see in the normal game otherwise, since the Medusa shield is one of the rarest items in the game. You'd have to use that or the stone sword, which is another rare item. So not having the stopwatch didn't matter too much. I'm very low on magic, so I have to be very careful with how I maneuver through these areas. I was hoping that would damage boost me the other way. Never mind. Okay, we found Mist. I'm going to still save the game before library carding back, just in case. But I'm like 99% sure that this is going to give us access to the end game now. Oh no, I'm out of magic. This is terrifying. Can I please? This is awful. Jesus. Okay. Best thing I can do is just wait for my magic to regen. Oh my goodness, that was miserable. This is one of the worst rooms in the game if you don't have magic. This is what I meant, that I had to be careful with my magic. how much magic I have, because you need to have magic to be in the transformations. So I can't fly without magic. Like, it's just required. And since I skipped the leap stone, it made that movement through that room so much more awkward than it needed to be. Oh my goodness. Okay. So now we're in a weird spot where the rings still matter, but it's unlikely. It feels less likely because I have 3 relic checks available to me right now in the first castle that are pretty high complexity. Versus the 1 relic check that I wouldn't have available to me, which is the Holy Glasses location, which is guarded by the 2 rings. So it's like 3 to 1. So 1/4 chance, 25% chance in my mind that it's something important. I'm just going to say that that's how the odds work. At least that's how it works in my brain. Let's put the Morn Blade back on. There we go. Don't really have to worry about taking damage from that guy because, you know, we heal every time we do damage. So this is one of the locations that was guarded behind the Mist Relic. And it's Spike Breaker. Okay, this gives me a hint that the location that we need to go to is the Silver Ring location, which is the next location I was going to go to. So this works out. Let's refill our magic. Yeah, so far everything kind of going according to plan, outside of some unfortunate, you know, randomizer shenanigans with the enemies being rude, but it's not too bad. One thing I can do to manage my magic better in areas where the terrain is more normal, like in the first castle, is you can often just use the wolf transformation instead of the bat transformation, and it's maybe a little bit slower, but you save magic. Because doing the Wing Smash spell costs 8 magic every time you do it, and you have to do it multiple times per chain every time you transform in order to maintain long Wing Smash chains. So it's just more MP efficient to use wolf movement often. So there's this trade-off between like going slightly faster but using a lot more magic versus going still kind of fast but more reserving your magic consumption. And then there's certain areas where it's both faster and more MP efficient, like pretty much right here. This hallway is long enough for the wolf to get up to full speed. So a lot of the times, anytime you're able to get up to full speed, it's usually worth using the wolf instead of the bat. But those kinds of areas are pretty rare. Pretty rare, I would say. Because like even that hallway, I wasn't able to get up to full speed. There we go. Not a bad fight at all. Here I actually have to grab this life max up to start a cutscene in order to leave this boss arena. This is like one of those scripted cutscenes from the normal game, but we're doing this way later than intended. Dang it. What a jerk. So here is the Silver Ring hallway with all the spikes. I'm just going to be ignoring the spikes by just flying through it. But I do need to have either invincibility or the spike breaker for the very end here in order to activate this blue door. So it's just easier for me to use the spike breaker, but I could have easily used a potion instead. That is like the worst case scenario. This is what I was afraid of. So we now live in a world where either... Oh, that's really bad. Either the ring is... at the holy symbol location, which I have access to, or it's back in the second castle, which is pretty bad for us. I think it's in my best interest to check the holy symbol location just in case, because it's equally likely to be there as any other location in the game, and this is probably the most convenient time for me to check it. But man, oh man, is this one of the more harsh outcomes for this type of seed. This also basically guarantees that the last relic is actually at the location that I said it only had a 25% chance to be, but you know, that's how it is sometimes. Yeah, finding the vanilla silver ring, the silver ring in the silver ring location is very rare and kind of annoying, but it's fine. There we get to take advantage of the wolf movement into bat transformation. It's quite nice. Another thing, now that we finally have mist, you might see me transform into the mist and then into a different transformation. That's to just make the transition between those two transformations faster. So if I need to transform into wolf, I'll transform into mist first and then into wolf because it's often faster than just doing the wolf transformation on its own. Same goes for if you want to transform into bat, or if you're wing smashing and you want to change directions, you can transform into mist to cancel your momentum and then transform back into bat and then wing smash a different direction. One of the reasons why the merman statue is so annoying is because it's really far out of the way. It's down this secret hallway that you have to break the door to get into, and then you have to talk to the ferryman, the boat guy, and you actually have to wait for him to go all the way across this area before you can gain access to the relic. There's just a thing, there's like a block blocking your path. And the only way to gain access to it is to have this guy take you along on this very slow boat ride. It's so slow you can walk faster than it, by the way. And the walking animation in this game is quite slow. But yep, there's the little gate that's being moved out of our way. Oh my goodness, it was both rings. Wow. That was another 25% chance, by the way, because there was 4 checks. No, 3 checks, actually. So that was a 33% chance. No, 44%. Yeah, 25% chance, actually. Because there was 3 checks left in the second castle and 1 check left in the first castle. So 2 25% chances back to back. I've never had a seed like this in my entire life, and I've been playing the randomizer since it came out 3 years ago. So, wow. See new stuff every single time you play the randomizer, I swear. I swear. We're still on decent pace overall. Anything around like an hour and 5, an hour and 10 minutes is pretty decent. Lycanthrope seeds can be, if you skip a lot of progression, if you skip a lot of the complexity, can be completed quite a bit faster. But if you're forced to go through every single step of the complexity chain, basically like I've had to, doing them in about an hour is expected. So yeah, this is the highest complexity location that's left in the castle, so it's pretty much guaranteed to be the final Vlad relic. So we will be in go mode after we wait for this cutscene to open the floor up for us. Then we have to ride an elevator, and then we have to talk to Maria. She'll give us the final relic. And then we can go back to the second castle, warp to the final boss, and beat the game. So I would say this is a pretty average seed, even though it had a very spectacular ending. The end time is quite average. Yep, there's the last relic. Having another library card to leave this area would be nice. However, we only had 1 this seed, so I think I used it in the best possible way, though. Ooh, the statue's blocking our path. It's going to open in 20 seconds. Probably not worth waiting, to be honest. I probably should have just left immediately. Because we have wolf movement, we can maybe get to the other teleporter a little bit faster. The other reason why the other teleporter might end up being a little bit faster, even if the movement to that teleporter isn't faster, is because the way that the teleporter cycles work in this game is that The teleporters will move you around the castle in a counterclockwise motion. So the outer wall teleporter will lead you to the castle keep teleporter first every single time. And each teleport animation costs like 10 seconds. Where the other warp that we would have done would have been from Alrox's quarters, which I believe has 4 warp animations total to get to Alrox's quarters. Or sorry, to get to Castle Keep. So it's like 40 seconds of warping time versus only 10 seconds of warping time if we use this warp. It's just that the that warp, the one in Alrox's, is quite a bit faster to reach, but we would have had to wait 20 seconds for the statue to open. So this is another awkward decision that needed to be made, and I think I made the right decision. Probably both options were probably no more or less than like 10 seconds difference. But when you're in a race scenario, you know, those kinds of differences do add up. So knowing the exact best time in any given situation can be quite difficult. And then it also comes down to execution as well, like how well you're able to execute that idea. Okay, from here, I'm just going to refill my magic at this save location. We're going to warp to Inverted Alrox's quarters, which is the closest location to the final boss. And if all things go well, we're looking at a potential sub-hour seed, which is definitely above average, all things considered. Even with like the absolute crazy ending, I'm surprised we are on decent pace here. Nice, pretty clean movement. That was me doing the mist transformation a little too early. There we go. All right. So now that we have all of the Vlad relics, once we enter this room and go towards the center of this room, it activates the cutscene of this clock moving into position and then opening, similar to what it did in the first castle. And now we just have 2 boss fights to go through. That should hopefully be finished quite quickly. I don't have like a ton of magic. I think the Medusa Shield spell is probably my best bet because it costs less magic overall. I'm also going to re-equip the Covenant Stones to do more damage. Put the Shield Rod back on, and I think that's pretty much it, yeah. This is as optimized damage as I'm going to get. We'll see how it goes, though. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It would have been faster to kill him with the Fire Shield. However, it would have cost extra menuing time because I can't really use Fire Shield versus Dracula because it won't kill him in one hit. The Fire Shield does fire-type damage, and Dracula resists fire-type damage, so because of that, it's usually not in your best interest to use fire attacks against him. But the Medusa Shield spell will be quite useful once he's sitting still. Do a little extra damage as well. And time should be coming up in just a second here. And there it is, time. 58-38. Not bad. Not bad for a random seed that, you know, I wasn't sure how it was going to go down. Very interesting seed to have to route on the fly. I think I got to show off most of what this category has to offer, this randomizer preset has to offer. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good day. See you later.